Alright, let's check out Fire Blast today. Fire Blast is something that I haven't seen in quite a while. Since the last episode, it's got a new icon, it's got a new critical attack, which, looking it up on the wiki, is apparently supposed to do 1.5 times damage, but that is not reflected in the thing. It's whenever you get an enemy oiled up. Essentially, it's just another type of channeled weapon, much like the Lightning Bolt, where you have like a little bit of a wind-up time, does constant damage until you stop it. Except this one is fire flavored, which, to be honest, probably way better, because there's so many very good fire synergies in the game. Obviously, anytime you get anything oiled up in any way, you can get a lot of extra damage, and not even if you're just using this weapon, just fire alone will help a lot with the damage over time with that. As well as everything that gets plus 100% on burning target. That's a good get right off the bat here. But aside from that, this also does a bunch of small hits per second, which can be pretty good for something like damage over time build, for example, utilizing a wolf trap, or Hokuto's bow is pretty good. Hokuto's bow especially because this scales in the exact same way. You got your brutality, you got your tactics. I would say that if you're going to be using this, I would suggest using brutality over tactics, just because tactics has the you actually have to get up there first. Has the excellent pyrotechnics then, which I would usually take instead of this 100% of the time. Because, much like the Lightning Bolt, the big issue here is that you have that wind-up time. That wind-up time is just terrible. And the fact that you can't move while using it. This is not like using an actual flamethrower or anything like that. You have to stay in one place. I mean, you can immediately turn around, which is nice, but aside from that, you're not really getting too much out of it. That ice bow would be amazing, but this is just as good. Is it any better? It is. Okay, well, I'm going to be using that then. Alright, so I think that as far as... Yeah, Pyrotechnics just wins 100% of the time, because that has a 2 times damage critical modifier if you have an oiled up target. That you can use, that is just like a tap to use, whereas if you tap this, nothing doing. Also much longer range. It's got a bigger combo. Just overall a lot of advantages compared to this. However, I don't think it's a bad weapon at all. And plus, come on, you're shooting out a flamethrower here. I think the entire thing was that this is introduced before pyrotechnics became a thing, which is why it's kind of a little bit lagging behind, let's say. If you get a legendary version of it, it gives you... Can I get 2? No. Well, that's more health, if nothing else. Probably gonna go Heart, Sadism. Tainted Flask could be good. Vengeance could be good. I'll look at some more of the brutality-focused mutations here. I think is a good idea. But anyway, the legendary version of this just gives you plus 100% on burning target. Because, yeah. Makes sense to me. Why not? So anyway, yeah, I think that this is one that I think benefits a lot more from having good mutations than a lot of other type of weapons here. Although the big thing that I'm worried about more than anything else is not having enough health in the later game. Still, obviously all of the weapons that I've been doing as of recently have all been survival scaling, which makes it extremely easy to have more than enough health at the end of the game to tank through everything. But this is going to be the first, probably brutality. Try to get as much... Ooh, swarm up there. Gotta do that run soon enough. Yeah, this is the first brutality run that I'm doing, or major brutality focused run, whatever. It could also be tactics, but haha, no. Yeah, close. So I think that, gonna pay to think a little bit more about health. Maybe take a few survival scrolls. Could be worth it to actually switch out one of maybe the heart for plus 30% health. A lot of stuff like that. Obviously, Heart's more of an insurance that you get early game, and then you're usually better off switching it out for something else later. I think that if I do lose this one, I will probably go full into... good. I think I probably will go fully into showcase mode and grab... I'm going to say probably a Wolf Trap. Wolf Trap is one of the most ideal things you can possibly get with this. It'll keep enemies facing away from you, meaning that you'll be able to get a lot more hits in on them. It will buff up your burn damage a lot, which is always great. And I'll say this, if you can't get, like, Firebrands, if you can't get Pyrotechnics, this is pretty good for leaving a whole bunch of oil on the ground. And getting Rally, too, which is helpful. Because of the many small hits it does. And unlike Pyrotechnics, the fire, I think, sticks around on the ground a lot longer. It's got some staying power, you know? Give me... Ah, come on, really? No. Ah, well. The only way that I could... Yeah, I think... Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking about it right now. Wolf Trap, and then... There we go. Wolf Trap, and then probably get an Oil Grenade. Those would be a pretty potent combination. Fire Torrent. Blast. Blast Fire Torrent. Names. They constantly change. I could also potentially, if given the right necklace, also be able to get, you know, Stomp to lay down some oil, but that's kind of dependent on how many elites or secret areas I happen to find here. And as of right now, it's not looking too good in regards to that. I'd probably not go to the Ancient Sewers. I was kind of hoping there was going to be more stuff around here. But yeah, this is also one of the examples of how the brutality stat is also kind of focused on a little bit more damage over time compared to other stats here. Because things like Fire Torrent, the Alchemic Carbine, Flamethrower Turret, decent amount of the bombs like the Fire Bombs, Firebrands, all of these things just apply a lot of damage over time stuff, while also scaling with brutality. Even Tactics does not have nearly as many options for that sort of stuff. It just has the big ranged options like Pyrotechnics. I mean, and similarly, obviously then survival doesn't really have too much for anything regarding that. Best thing would be like a biters, yeah, because that would... I'm gonna start going a little bit survival now. Because biters technically do damage over time, they just do it with biting. And they can also apply stuff like poison stacks too. But that's about it. So, if you are trying to go a really heavy... that could be decent. Maybe I'll go with that. So if you are trying to go a heavy damage over time build, or, well, a lot of fire, if nothing else, this is a... brutality stat is pretty good to go for. Like I said, I think like one of the most potent combinations could be the Minotaur build. Brutality and survival, and just grab Wolf Trap, a decent shield, Fire Torrent here, Oil Grenade. A lot of good options for that. Yeah, just the real issue though is just that wind up. Wow, and I already lost my 50% extra damage. Great. Yeah, the wind-up is really the biggest issue. Well, the wind-up and being planted in the ground. Those are the two things that are going to get you, well, maybe not killed, but unhappy when you get hit more than anything else. And the annoying thing is that it's just fast enough so that you can't really queue it up in the middle of the air, and it doesn't do burst damage, so a lot of the damage you're getting has to be channeled, has to be done over time. You really have to plan it out so that you're in a place where you can stand still for a very long time to get the maximum amount of usage out of the weapon. Which is why something like a wolf trap or the ability to freeze or something like that are the ideal ways to go about getting synergies with this weapon. Because aside from that, I want to say that if you're just starting the game, if you haven't played the game a whole lot, it's going to be pretty difficult to use this weapon. It's very similar, actually, to the repeater crossbow, thinking about it here, except while the repeater crossbow is just a kind of bad ranged weapon, this at least has, you know, the ability to throw down fire, to continue doing damage over time, set up synergies, set up, that would be nice, but nope. Set up damage to be occurring even when you are nowhere in the area. I mean, after all, that is the most powerful thing when it comes to doing damage over time stuff. You don't have to be, unlike turrets, unlike a lot of stuff, enemies can't get rid of being on fire. They are not skilled in the knowledge of stopping, dropping, and rolling. Popping and locking either. There we are. You don't have to charge it up by being near it or anything like that. So that's a couple of the reasons that make it so powerful. It's just the trade-off with this, then, is that that's really, it's just you can't move. They made this like an actual flamethrower or something like that instead of the weird devil horn symbol. I don't know. In the same way that the repeater crossbow should be like a minigun style where you can move but slowly when using it. And then like here you got, I don't know, big flamethrower, you can move but slowly again. It's like, I think that would improve the weapons like tenfold. Also, yeah, going back to the actual icon here, it has, for some reason, using the devil horns on fire. I always thought that that was... Alright, so the history behind the weapon is that it used to have a different... icon. Looked a little bit like how Pyrotechnics looks now. Sort of like a shooting flames forward type of look to it. I don't really know how you describe it. You can go back and see the original video if you want to torture yourself, I suppose. But then what happened was that Pyrotechnics took over that icon, so then they gave it this one instead. But then Pyrotechnics got its own icon, but instead of turning it back, it still had this very dopey looking, placeholder looking icon here. So, I mean, I guess the idea would be that they didn't want to change it back because, hey, come on. I don't know if he's going to follow me here, but I can at least get a heal first. Yeah, like the idea would be that this would be... that the original icon that it used would probably be too similar to Pyrotechnics. It'd be too easy to confuse it, but then they never updated this one, so it still looks like the hero of the game is a super huge metalhead. Which, I don't know, maybe. I'm not gonna say one way or another what sort of music this man who has no ears would or would not listen to. Maybe just a really good lip reader. Because he clearly understands when people are talking to him. Or maybe he doesn't. That's not really clear either. Mysteries of the game. Anywho, please. Can you just give me 2 brutality? That's all I want. Okay, what do I want here, though? Tainted Flask could be pretty good. So could Vengeance. Although I was also talking about maybe doing Rally. This would be good too because extra health, obviously. Disengagement would be great because then I could get beaten down to the point where this would activate and then just keep going. Keep getting that constant stream of fire going out. I'm going to try Rally. I think Rally could be something that really saves me here. Maybe. Either way, I'm not too worried about the concierge, so. Even when he's invincible, I can lay down the fire underneath him to be able to constantly have damage being done. Come on. Now, there's where revenge would have came in handy. Maybe I should just taken that for this battle, if nothing else. Well, there's where the rally would come in handy if he wasn't invincible all the time. Oh well, that's how it goes. Really kind of lagging behind a little bit on my, Come on. Well, that was just a stupid idea entirely. But... okay, I'm looking right now. The rally is actually really small. Maybe I'll go with something else. Don't accidentally grab that. Well, actually, I can't, so... oh, wow, that's not a bad one either. 50% damage on it. Well, the initial damage is not what you're looking for. You're looking for the bleed damage you can get afterwards. That said, still would be pretty good for a damage over time build if I wanted to go for that. But I don't. This is single weapon run for the time. We'll see when I get to the castle. So that last run did get to the hand, but then I got just completely wrecked, and also found out that apparently disengagement does not work when you do that 1 HP thing. Yeah, so if you have a particularly large hit, go down to 1 HP, do the big, huge AoE stun. Yeah, apparently what happens is that disengagement does not actually activate, so not nearly as good as I thought it was. But now, much like I said way at the start of the episode, I have, instead of doing just a solely Fire Blast run, I am doing a showcase run more like a showcase run. So what I got here is I got an Ice Grenade for, you know, freezing enemies, making sure that they can attack slower so I can get more time to blast them with the fire. Got Hokuto's Bow, which just buffs up the fire entirely. Not only because you do many, many hits with this weapon, but it also makes the fire itself more effective. And of course, the Oil Grenade, just so I can easily get the critical going on there. Though again, I'm still not entirely sure how much the critical actually does, because you can see that the Fire Blast says 1198, 1198. Hey, according to the wiki, it's 1.5 times damage. And also according to the wiki, apparently the whole thing where when you do enough damage to an enemy, they're knocked out of their attack animation has a name. It's called Breach. Breach. The sort that you get into. There we are. So, that's good to know for the future, I suppose. I just called it like Hit Stun or something. Yeah, already this run's going way, way better than it was before. Of course, that's just having a, you know, mildly upgraded form. Oh, just right out of range there, eh? Of course, that's also having just even a slightly mildly upgraded form, Fire Blast 3, instead of 2 and 1, which I had last time. And you can't see me. And additionally having, what, 10, 20, 30, 60% damage reduction too, that makes a difference. So, anyway, I think overall this is a pretty good combo. Shouldn't be worrying too much about everything else before. The other thing that's also going much better in this run is that I'm feeling at least slightly better insofar as nose stuffiness goes. I don't know if you've noticed in the episode, but I am a little sick. Maybe one of the reasons why I haven't been updating too much lately. That and Hollow Knight. Gotta go master some gods in there, and that's taking a bit. I was already in this area. God Master. Sounds like the name of an energy drink. Sell it right next to Boss Coffee. Anyway. Yeah, still don't know how much I'm gonna do with that. Because, oh boy, fighting bosses over and over and over is starting to get to me here. Especially after I was just doing the trials in Dungreed and everything. You know what's nice? Just doing regular old runs in Dead Cells here. There's nothing at all stressful about that. Well, at least it's not... It's sort of like Celeste there, where Celeste is always at, you know, a maximum 10 stressfulness level. At least there's some parts in this game where it's like, hey, you get a bit of a break. Though I am thinking that in the future, it'll probably be on like a... Forgot to hit him with the Hokuto's bow. Yeah, in the future it'll probably be more on a per weapon basis what the cell level I do. So for example, something like, I don't know, Death Orb could probably be 2, even 3 cells if I get some good stuff. But like this, yeah, I should have just done on 1 cell. Nope, Pyrotechnics. Not the same thing at all. However, you are Fire Blast 5, but not upgraded. Because as you can see, Fire Blast 3 being upgraded is already doing the exact same amount of damage as that would be. The plus 100 on plus 100% on the base damage. Could be worth it. No, I already had a bad run. Let's get a good run going here. At least a kind of decent run. Interesting that I did get the legendary ice grenade. Not only does that sync a little bit better with the whole brutality run that I'm going for here, it gets benefit from the fireworks technician. It's also let's kill this guy. It's also very, very effective in holding enemies in place. Originally, I was going to try to go for a wolf trap, but this... Well, okay, it scales with anything because it's legendary, but it's also an item that... Oh, wait, just go up here. This is also an item that the slowness will help... Why are you doing this to me, game? No. I'm gonna stick... I like the build that I got right now. I'm going to stick with it. You know, other people are like, oh, I'm never lucky with RNG. I only get lucky. I like saying that so that when I get unlucky, it's even more of a stark contrast. Always gotta open up with a Hokuto's bow. I gotta open up with the Hokuto's bow. It's an important thing. Yeah, I'll just go. Hokuto's bow is an important part of getting a ton of extra damage. If you don't do that, you just don't... It don't happen. I keep wanting to get the... modifier, the affix that gives me inflammable oil on enemies. Because then I might be able to get rid of the ice... or the oil grenade. Maybe. I don't know. Because to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the oil grenade. I mean, it's fine. You can use it really often. 2-second cooldown, does a huge AoE. Excellent anti-air, but like, I guess I'll talk more about that in the oil grenade episode. Maybe I'll do it a combo like I did with a ice shock oil grenade last time. That was a pretty good one. Get a lot of damage out of that. I suppose I can take this and just sell it. Yeah, oil synergy is pretty nice. I mean, not only do you get the not only do you get the extra damage from the improved purple fire, you also get like a lot of very good critical hits from Ice Shock, Pyrotechnics. Not entirely sure about Fire Blast, maybe. If they made it clear how exactly that worked, that would be nice. Could easily be that, you know, Fire Blast is just kind of a weird item, so that getting a critical is... The way the criticals are coded, it just makes it really hard to... There we are. I was worried there for a second. Just makes it really hard to make it show on the weapon. I mean, after seeing a lot of what goes on in modding, there's a lot of things that are very hard-coded into the game that are quite difficult to change. Something that makes sense if you're just making a game by itself, but if you're trying to do modding, then, hey, you know, there's a reason why Bethesda, as buggy as their games are, they're so good for modding. It's because they have that plan from the very beginning. You drop assets into a folder or something like that, and they just appear in-game. Okay, not literally, but I've heard it likened to that before. There's one. Dead Cells modding was very much a... I never realized just how close those were to each other. What the hell? Yeah, Dead Cells modding was kind of a like little bonus type of thing, so it's not as fleshed out as I would like it, but who knows? Who knows what the future can bring? Hopefully get that frying pan, fine. I know they said that it was going to be in the DLC, but when's the DLC? And should be taken down. Downward Smash burn the ground. I'll take it for the extra health, for the extra damage reduction. I don't really think I need any of the affixes on that, really. But hey, you know, if I do eventually go with the... If I do eventually go with doing a wolf trap, I got the... Stop it. I got the necessary stuff to make it work. You know, I'm realizing right now I am still not using the homunculus rune. God, I really have to get used to that again. Should just do like a whole set of casual runs where I try to use that, not as a primary source of damage, but at least try to use it to do something in something. Make it part of a basic combo or something like that. Assassin's Dagger. Maybe I'll do like an Assassin's Dagger plus Homunculus rune run in the future. Because that would be a good way to do that. The whole locking in place for a couple seconds is more than good enough to get a ton of critical hits on any enemy if you do that. And there we are. Alright. As of now, the Hokuto's bow just gives a ton of just junk on screen all the time. Oh, I'm just completely missing with all these bombs. Hi, guys. Still would like to see Mark be more of a thing in the game. As for right now, it's mostly just something only for the Hokuto's bow. Make it like an affix for stuff like Wolf Trap or, I don't know, maybe Corrupted Power would be cool. You know, like it just does a big AoE explosion and then it doesn't spread to other enemies afterwards. Please look at the Mark for the time being. Alright, Timekeeper. I do not foresee this being a difficult fight at all. Last time it wasn't, so... Because you can actually get the Timekeeper to stand pretty still. Like, to stand stiller than you think. To stand stiller than you think. That was a word I said. So I was talking about bends. I don't really see how that would make sense. Anyway. There we are. Oh. Oh, but it doesn't have the plus 300%. No, then. Well, does inflict inflammable oil on. Yeah, it doesn't have its special legendary super affix on there. Doesn't always happen. Oh yeah, I suppose one thing that could actually make this work if it's not giving me extra damage like it's saying here is that the critical hits dealing plus 20% damage could be decent. Could give me a little extra kick even if the critical itself doesn't. All right. Do not foresee this as being difficult in any way. Well, that's kind of a bold claim. I don't see it as being very difficult. Let's go with that instead. Probably should have actually pumped this up onto 2-3 cell difficulty here, but hey, you never know how things are gonna go. So I think that 1 cell... Hey, if nothing else, it is a very stark contrast as to what 1 cell is like compared to... Oh, breached it. It's a very stark contrast to 1 cell when you only have a single weapon versus 1 cell when you have your full kit going on here. I mean, just the damage reduction and the extra stats afforded from the other pieces of equipment are a huge difference maker alone. Not likely I'm going to be able to get any new items out of that, any new upgrades or anything. Okay, that could have been close. Oh, let me tell you, the first time that I went into the castle in the previous run, it was just a disaster because I could not... Oh, this is entirely locked off over here. Never mind. I couldn't do like any damage to any of the enemies here. It's such a huge difference when you get into the castle. I mean, that should go without saying, of course. But the castle it really is a huge jump up in the amount of health enemies have and the amount of damage they do, everything like that. Motion Twin really did make an attempt to have this be the endgame area and have it be much more difficult than anything else prior to like fight. And that's great, just not for, you know, the challenge runs I do. Oh yeah, I did also get to see the Get Good room. If you rest at the bonfire, it spawns an enemy at the very beginning that spawns a whole lot of cells when you kill it. That's what that does. If you had been waiting with bated breath since the stream I did where I was baffled at that, that is what that room do. Let's go. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good here. The hand will probably gain resistance to ice grenades fairly quickly, as he tends to do. I'm going to switch out. Yes, yes, and yes. All brutality. And always has a lot of health. He always gains resistance and stuff very quickly. All that. Loading tip confirming that yes, Hand of the King is one of the only characters that remains alive, unlike everything else on the island. That's why he doesn't drop cells. No, gotta make sure to hit with the thing. Oh, that's already so much better. I cannot even tell you how much worse this was last time. Didn't even get past second phase. Also, I took so much more. Took so much more damage from that too. Go into your third phase already. You. starting to become irritating. And now, oh, well, all right, I can wait. And good. And, well, first off, I want to kill this guy, but then take a drag on the potion and get that huge amount of damage. I said huge amount of damage. That was weird. Anyway. Done. Simple enough. So yeah, Fire Blast, not Fire Torrent, is pretty good. It's a pretty good weapon and everything, but there's just a lot of weapons that I would take in its stead.